In the Kunlun Southern Region, at the Heavenly Mechanism Sect, atop a mountain peak, majestic true yuan rolled out, causing heaven and earth to tremble along with it. In the center of the true yuan fluctuations, starlight twinkled in Li Cheng's eyes. Transcendence Tribulation Stage, complete. Anytime now I can trigger the Heaven Tribulation and cross through it. It won't be long before I ascend to the Immortal World, becoming the first person to ascend in a myriad of years. A smile hung on Li Cheng's handsome face. He was not from this world. 10 years ago, he transmigrated to this cultivation world and became the youngest elder in the Heavenly Mechanism Sect. To face tribulation with my own body, to break through the Tao and become an immortal is right before my eyes. This transmigration is not a loss, starting at the fusion Tao stage and becoming an immortal in just 10 years. Li Cheng stood up, reigning in the true yuan fluctuations. In the next few days, he would adjust his state and then face the tribulation. Host meets the requirements. System activation in progress. Hearing the prompt in his mind, Li Cheng scoffed. I'm about to become an immortal, and you activate now? About to become an immortal, do I still need the system? Right after transmigrating, Li Cheng knew about the system's existence, but it always indicated that the requirements were not met, so he couldn't activate it. Upon further thought, if reaching the Transcendence Tribulation stage complete was the requirement for activation, then this system must be no simple matter, right? What kind of system could it be? Li Cheng became interested in this system. Activation complete, infinite epiphanies from teaching system loaded. This system is dedicated to assisting the host in becoming an unparalleled and powerful predecessor. System introduction. After teaching disciples, the system grants enlightenment chances based on the gains of the disciples. The greater the disciples' gains, the more enlightenment chances granted. Remaining enlightenment chances, 0 times. Listening to the prompt, a hint of peculiarity flashed in Li Cheng's stellar eyes. Rewards for enlightenment. Enlightenment was the greatest fortune for a cultivator, something that was elusive and could not be sought. Not to mention that Li Cheng had never experienced enlightenment in 10 years. Even the Heavenly Mechanism Sect hadn't had anyone achieve enlightenment in nearly 10,000 years. To directly reward enlightenment. How monstrously powerful would that be? If that's the case, I need to postpone crossing the tribulation for some time to try out this system. Li Cheng thought to himself as he rubbed his chin. Isn't it just teaching disciples? In a few days, it will be the day when the inner gate recruits disciples. I'll take a few disciples then and try it out. The Heavenly Mechanism Sect was one of the top 10 sects in the Kunlun Southern Domain, with disciples numbering in the millions. When Li Cheng first arrived, he was astounded by this fact, but he soon discovered that while there were many disciples, almost all of them were outer door disciples, the kind that just made up the numbers. The core power of the sect lay within the inner gate, and the inner sect disciples numbered less than 10,000. Li Cheng was one of the inner gate elders, in charge of the 18th peak, with a status second only to the sect master, but a generation senior to the sect master. However, Li Cheng had been focused on cultivating and had never taken on disciples, which led to a rather serious issue. He had no subordinates at all. That's right, the 18th peak that Li Cheng was in charge of did not have a single disciple. Just then, a group of more than 10 people arrived through the Li Cheng stood still, quietly waiting for them. Shortly after, the group of more than 10 landed a few zhang away from Li Cheng, all with hands clasped in salute. Greetings, junior uncle. Li Cheng nodded slightly in response as a greeting, and said, Elders, are you here to persuade me to take disciples again? This was not the first time. Every time Li Cheng left seclusion, they would come to urge him. But Li Cheng had always refused under the pretext of needing to focus on his cultivation in seclusion. No, no, no. We sense that junior uncle's cultivation has made another breakthrough, and you are about to cross the tribulation and ascend. We have come to offer our congratulations. That's right, congratulations, junior uncle. You are going to be the first to ascend from our sect in 10,000 years. Li Cheng could see that all the elders were genuinely happy. That was normal since the Heavenly Mechanism Sect hadn't had anyone ascend for 10,000 years, which had led to its decline from the head of the top 10 sects to the tail. No one else ascended. and it seemed the positions of the top 10 sects were no longer secure. Looking at the excited crowd, Li Cheng shook his head and smiled. There's no rush to ascend through the tribulation crossing. I want to take on disciples first, otherwise the lineage of the 18th peak will be broken. Huh? What was he doing? Over the years, they had urged him many times, but Li Cheng had always refused. Now that his ascension was imminent, why did he suddenly want to take on disciples? Something wasn't right. Everyone was counting on Li Cheng's ascension to bring benefits to their sect. After all, when someone ascended, the immortal spirit chi would spill over, bringing great benefits to the sect. Moreover, if someone ascended, it could greatly influence the Kunlun Southern Region and attract more geniuses to join the sect. Before coming here, they had all envisioned the sect returning to its glory from 10,000 years ago. But at this moment, Li Cheng was saying he would not ascend for the time being. Little uncle, please ascend with peace of mind. Once you ascend, other elders will take charge of the 18th peak, and the lineage won't break. A middle-aged man flew over and landed in front of Li Cheng, saying with a smile, "Sect Master." Seeing the newcomer, everyone promptly paid their respects. The sect master waved his hand and then said, "Little uncle, your talent is unparalleled. In just 30 years, you have walked the path that takes ordinary cultivators 1,000 years. Your stage should be in the immortal world." Indeed, little uncle, for 10,000 years, our sect has lost contact with the immortal world. It must be that the sect encountered disaster there, and only you can save us. Li Cheng looked over the crowd silently. I have made up my mind. I still want to take on a few disciples first. The crowd wanted to persuade him further, but the sect master secretly gestured for them to be quiet and said with a laugh, "All right then. What kind of disciples does little uncle want? There's no need to wait for the sect recruitment. We'll personally go and select them for you." Li Cheng's eyes lit up. This was great, very simple. High talent, high comprehension, tenacious character, firm will, and preferably possessing a special physique. The muscles on everyone's faces twitched slightly. All these requirements, and he thought it was simple. "We have one," the sect master immediately said. "Little uncle, wait a moment. We'll go and bring him to you right away." Having said that, everyone hurriedly followed the sect master as he left. Li Cheng was delighted. The greater the disciple's achievements, the more enlightenment chances he would be rewarded. Naturally, he had to select some monstrous talents. Such disciples could take one pointer and understand many, make great advancements in their cultivation, and were easier to teach while granting him more rewards. The sect master had already led everyone towards the outer door. "Sect master, why are we going to the outer door? Can the talent of outer door disciples really compare with those of the inner gate?" asked an elder, puzzled. The sect master waved his hand. "We need to find those with poor talent, the worst kind." "Sect master, what do you mean by this?" "Think about it. If we really find monstrous disciples for little uncle, he will certainly be eager to nurture them and won't want to ascend. So we pick those with lesser talent. Let little uncle teach them for a few days until he loses interest, and then, won't he ascend?" Listening to the sect master's words, the elders understood. That's it. The sect master was wise. An elder's eyes sparkled. "If that's the case, I have an excellent candidate in mind." "First elder, you're not talking about that outer door disciple who was discarded yesterday, are you?" For a moment, the expressions of all the elders grew strange. The sect master looked doubtful. "Who is this person you speak of? It seems like you all know." The first elder cleared his throat. "Sect master, among the 99 peaks of the outer door, there's a disciple who joined at the age of 8, spent 10 years in the body refinement realm, just stepped into the chi cultivation realm last month, and yesterday, he botched his own training, falling back to the 9th level of the body refinement realm." The sect master frowned slightly. 10 years in the body refinement realm? How did someone with such talent get into the sect in the first place? Who reviewed his admission? "We've checked. He passed all the tests with no issues. It's just strange." The sect master shook his head. "Well then, he's the most suitable candidate. First elder, take the person to little uncle, and remember to praise him as if he is a monstrous talent." Heavenly Mechanism Sect outer door, 99th peak. Over a dozen disciples were cleaning the great hall, their disdainful eyes occasionally drifting towards the deeper part of the hall. "Among our batch of disciples, Even the worst has entered the foundation establishment stage, right? That Yun kid is still in the body refinement period. What a disgrace. Hee. What's even more shameful is that last month he advanced to the chi refinement realm, but somehow inexplicably fell back to body refinement yesterday. He's totally lost face for our 99th peak. Do you think, if the higher-ups in the sect knew about this, they might directly expel him? After all, such an embarrassing event, if it got out, would certainly become the laughingstock of the sect. The crowd was abuzz with discussion, with no consideration for the feelings of the young man in the depths of the hall. The young man's name was Yun Tianxiong, and he was meticulously cleaning the hall, his head lowered. Although he heard everyone's discussions, it seemed he had become used to it and didn't care about others' opinions. But upon hearing the crowd's talk, Yun Tianxiong couldn't help but feel a bit anxious. If he was expelled from the sect, then all hope would be lost. Whereas Yun Tianxiong? Come out immediately and pay your respects to the first elder. Just then, a bold voice came from outside the hall. The first elder? An inner gate elder? Is he looking for that Yun kid? Upon hearing that bold voice, everyone revealed looks of surprise, and then their expressions turned playful. To actually alarm the inner gate, that Yun kid is done for. Looks like expulsion from the sect is the least of his worries. Yun Tianxiong's expression changed slightly. Being sought out by an inner gate elder at this time certainly wasn't a good thing, but he quickly calmed himself down. What was destined to come would eventually arrive, so if he couldn't avoid it, then he should face it squarely. As he walked out of the hall, Yun Tianxiong saw an elder who was past his 50s, radiating an intimidating aura that made it hard for others even to breathe. Disciple Yun Tianxiong greets the first elder. Yun Tianxiong bowed to the elder, neither servile nor overbearing. This elder was indeed the first elder, accompanied by the master of 99th peak. Naturally, Yun Tianxiong wouldn't mistake him. The first elder sized up Yun Tianxiong and nodded slightly. Confident yet respectful, a very commendable temperament. May I ask, for what matter does the first elder summon him by name? The master of 99th peak asked, bowing. The first elder withdrew his gaze, smiling. 18th elder wishes to take a disciple, and I am taking him to try his luck. The master's expression froze, and the many disciples who overheard were also stunned. Our sect's strongest? He's taking a disciple. The master regained his composure, astonished. The first elder nodded slightly, without saying much more. His true yuan surged, and he flew away with Yun Tianxiong, leaving behind the dumbfounded crowd of 99th peak. How is this possible? 18th elder is recognized as a monstrous talent within the sect. He should be looking for a talented disciple, so why would he set his sights on Yun Tianxiong? The master was incredulous, muttering to himself. The disciples were equally dumbfounded, unable to comprehend the situation. This is crazy. With Yun Tianxiong's talent, how could he be personally chosen by the inner gate? Yeah, if he's taken as a disciple by 18th elder, that would be soaring to the heavens. The master glanced at the crowd and said indifferently, enough. No more discussions. The disciples quickly shut up, criticizing in their hearts. It seemed that being infamous had its benefits. Even a bad reputation could make the inner gate aware of someone. Just look, he was specifically named to leave. The crowd sighed inwardly. To make a name among millions of disciples, one had to be either a genius or, as in Yun Tianxiong's case, a good-for-nothing. For a moment, everyone thought, could it be that Yun Tianxiong deliberately acted the fool just to draw the inner gate's attention? At 18th peak, the first elder, leading Yun Tianxiong up the mountain, felt somewhat uneasy. The sect master really gave me a tough problem. If the little uncle finds out this kid's a good-for-nothing, I'll be the one in trouble. I must carefully recall where I might have offended the sect master. The first elder mulled over this, having felt from the moment the sect master entrusted him with this task that he must have slighted the master. After all, the little uncle wanted a prodigy, yet the sect master had picked out a very useless good-for-nothing and told him to deliver him, which was clearly setting him up for failure. Detection of a suitable disciple approaching. Taking him as an apprentice will yield a reward. At the mountain summit, Li Cheng suddenly heard an alert in his mind that Li Cheng was startled, pondering the meaning of this alert. Taking an apprentice isn't something I just decide to do, is it? There are requirements. Correct. What kind of requirements? Fate. indescribably wonderful. Damn it, system, your explanation is really asking for a beating, exclaimed Li Cheng, his eyes widening. Fate? Choosing disciples by fate? Well, as cultivators, we do indeed regard fate highly, so the system's explanation seems somewhat reasonable that it's just a pity. Li Cheng had planned to find someone to test first before taking on disciples on a larger scale. It looks like that plan won't work out. But no matter, with 1 million disciples in the Heavenly Mechanism Sect, he was bound to recruit quite a few that if worse came to worst, he could always recruit from outside. Soon, with an anxious heart, the first elder appeared within Li Cheng's vision. How should I praise this lad? He's completely unremarkable, yet I have to praise him as a prodigy. This is tough. The first elder thought rapidly. First elder moves quite fast. Not bad. Not bad. The latter half of the sentence was addressed to Yun Tianxiong. The first elder was startled and turned to glance at Yun Tianxiong beside him. Little martial uncle's taste is quite unique. He really couldn't see what made this lad stand out. Little martial uncle, are you satisfied with this disciple? The first elder asked uncertainly. Li Cheng smiled. We cultivators value the concept of fate. Since this youth and I are fated, he is surely not bad. Yun Tianxiong promptly knelt down and kowed out. Disciple Yun Tianxiong, greets master. The first elder raised an eyebrow. This lad was getting the hang of it. Discipleship successful, reward, 2 enlightenment opportunities. Current remaining enlightenment opportunities, 2 times. Huh. That's it. Just taking on a disciple awards a bonus. Then wouldn't teaching the disciple grant even more rewards? With that thought, Li Cheng looked at Yun Tianxiong. Stand up and introduce yourself first. Yun Tianxiong's eyes brimmed with excitement. He had never imagined that the strongest elder of the sect would actually consider taking him as a disciple, not because he was exceptionally talented or exceedingly useless, but just because of fate. Responding to master, I am of Xiantian Ridge lineage. Originally a royal of the cloud mysterious dynasty of Xiantian Ridge, the dynasty changed rulers 12 years ago. I was saved by the palace guards, narrowly escaping death, and eventually I came to the Heavenly Mechanism Sect. Li Cheng and the first elder quietly listened to Yun Tianxiong's story. From his words, they didn't sense any desire for vengeance, which piqued their curiosity. After a while, when he was done speaking, the first elder coughed lightly and said, You don't seem inclined toward revenge? Yun Tianxiong shook his head and smiled. I was 6 at the time. 12 years have passed, and I no longer remember the faces of my enemies. But I do remember that during those years, the cloud mysterious dynasty's people were living in misery, yet now they live in peace and happiness. Perhaps the change in rulers was a good thing for the common folk. Upon hearing this, both Li Cheng and the first elder understood. The royal family of the cloud mysterious dynasty must have been so corrupt that it incited the wrath of the people, leading to the change in rulership. The Kunlun Southern Region is vast and boundless with countless dynasties. It's said that every day, many dynasties are overthrown or established. As cultivators, who would care about such matters? The first elder stroked his chin's beard and nodded slightly. Once you step on the path of cultivation, it's predetermined that you are from a different world than ordinary people. It's appropriate not to concern oneself with such matters. In the unwritten rules of the cultivation world, cultivators should not interfere with mortal affairs. Letting go is indeed for the best. The first elder continued. Li Cheng glanced at the first elder. After all, was it you taking on a disciple, or was it me? Moreover, Li Cheng could see that Yun Tianxiong hadn't let go at all. That if he had, why would his cultivation have regressed? Transcending tribulation was meant to understand the heavens and face trials with one's body. Was that so easy to hide? Without saying much, Li Cheng made a gesture, and a beam of sword light extended from his feet, cutting through rocks and vegetation along the way, neatly splitting the mountaintop in two. Yun Tianxiong, although you and I are fated, I haven't agreed to take you as a disciple yet. I'll give you 3 days to comprehend this sword strike. If you can satisfy me afterward, we'll talk, Li Cheng said. After speaking, Li Cheng signaled to the first elder, and the two of them left together. Little martial uncle, didn't you tacitly agree to accept him as a disciple? Why are you now saying you haven't agreed? The first elder was full of confusion. Li Cheng shrugged. The system had already acknowledged it, and even provided a reward. but whether to accept him or not was his decision to make. He would see the results after 3 days. He had spoken those words just now to leave himself a way out. Without responding to the first elder, Li Cheng changed the subject. First elder, we will be opening the mountain to accept disciples in 2 days. Remember to call upon me. The first elder was taken aback, then glanced back at Yin Tianxiong on the mountain peak. Clearly, one disciple was not enough. The little martial uncle was planning to take on more disciples. This was a matter he had to report to the sect master. They must find a way to persuade the little martial uncle to ascend after transcending the tribulation. He couldn't afford to waste time on taking disciples. The Heavenly Mechanism Sect's main hall was located at the summit of the central mountain range, surrounded by clouds and mist, like a fairyland on earth at that moment. The first elder flew straight into the main hall. All the high-ranking members within the hall stood up in unison, their eyes filled with hopeful anticipation. First elder, has the person been sent? The sect master asked, his voice laced with expectancy. The first elder cupped his hands together. Fortunately, I have not failed. My mission. The junior mentor has taken him in. Haha, excellent. This is wonderful news. Issue the order. Begin preparing the invitations immediately. Invite all sects and powers from the southern domain to witness the junior mentor's ascension ceremony. The sect master laughed heartily. Since the good-for-nothing had been sent over, and the junior mentor had accepted him, it meant that in just a few days the junior mentor would certainly undergo tribulation, and then ascend. The elders were overjoyed beyond measure. After 10,000 years, someone from their sect was finally going to ascend. The first elder looked stunned and hastily said, Sect Master, it is too early to prepare the invitations. It's not too early. The southern domain is vast, and even with transmission arrays, gathering all powers will take at least a month. Preparing now is perfect, an elder said with a smile. The first elder bittersweetly said, I haven't finished speaking, please don't interrupt me. Oh, please continue, first elder. The first elder cleared his throat. The junior mentor said that he wants to participate in the Inner Gates recruitment of disciples 2 days from now. Upon hearing this, everyone furrowed their brows, and the sect master asked, The junior mentor wants to take on disciples? Exactly. It seems that the junior mentor has no immediate plans for tribulation crossing, let alone ascension. The first elder said, his face a portrait of helplessness. The sect master pondered, tapping his fingers against the armrest of his chair for a long while before saying, Prepare the invitations as usual, but do not send them out yet. We will wait until after the junior mentor crosses his tribulation. For now, focus on the preparations for the Inner Gates recruitment ceremony. All right, you may all leave. I'll go and have a talk with the junior mentor. After speaking, the sect master's figure vanished from the great hall of the 18th peak. Li Cheng sat in his room, summoning the system panel for review. With 2 enlightenment opportunities at hand, after much thought, Li Cheng decided to continue seeking insight into the ways of heaven and earth, taking nature as his teacher, and to use one opportunity for enlightenment to give it a try. System. Use one enlightenment opportunity. The next second, Li Cheng felt the scenery before his eyes shift rapidly. The room disappeared, replaced by a hazy world. This world was filled with peculiar veins, each seemingly possessing the power to annihilate the heavens and obliterate the earth. Li Cheng was inwardly shocked. In former inklings into the ways of heaven and earth, he could sense the power of rules binding everything. But now, under the state of enlightenment, the rule power appeared so vivid. This rule power converged to form the order of heaven and earth for this world. Quietly contemplating, Li Cheng understood that so-called tribulation crossing was breaking the order of heaven and earth, thus inciting these laws to obstruct in the form of tribulation thunder. Withstanding all the tribulation thunder meant receiving recognition from the order of heaven and earth, thereby granting one the ability to leave this world and ascend to higher realms. As he delved deeper into his contemplating, Li Cheng found that the forces making up the order of heaven and earth were based on various elemental powers, encompassing many energies, both within and beyond his understanding. 3,000 great avenues, myriad lesser paths, all lie within this order. With newfound understanding, Li Cheng reached out to touch a vein in front of him, but as soon as he made contact, he felt as though he had been struck. He was expelled from his state of enlightenment in an instant. However, before he left that state, Li Cheng caught a glimpse of that vein leading him to an endless long river of time. And though it was just for a split second, he could sense that the river seemed to lead to an infinite past and future. The long river of time? Li Cheng opened his eyes, his gaze filled with astonishment. Just one enlightenment session allowed him to see the veins of heaven and earth, and in front of these veins was his complete tribulation crossing stage, so insignificant. Yet these were merely the veins of heaven and earth in the lower world. In the immortal realm, wouldn't these veins be countless times more powerful? According to the scriptures, the supremely powerful beings in the immortal realm could control the power of laws. Wasn't that horrifying? Thinking of this, Li Cheng gasped in shock. Full mastery of the transcendence tribulation stage was invincible in this world. Without a loose immortal emerging, no one could contend. But in the immortal world, faced with those who wielded the power of laws, he was afraid he wouldn't even amount to an ant. In light of this, he must not ascend. Indeed, he must not ascend. In the immortal world, he would be nothing more than trash. It was safer to stay here. Contemplating, Li Cheng took a deep breath. If I could realize one or two veins of heaven and earth, then I could master one or two strands of the power of laws. With that, even if I faced a loose immortal in this world, I could probably protect myself, right? As long as there are enough moments of enlightenment, it seems I really could master some power of laws, even if it's just one. It would make me countless times more powerful than I am now. Full mastery of the transcendence tribulation stage was, by all accounts, the pinnacle of combat power in this world. As long as loose immortals remained absent, no one could contend. But having encountered those veins of heaven and earth, Li Cheng knew he could take a different path. With this in mind, Li Cheng no longer hesitated. System, use enlightenment again. Entering the state of enlightenment once more, Li Cheng located the same vein as before, not touching it directly, but instead starting to comprehend it. Unity of heaven and man. Is Junior Martial Uncle in a state of enlightenment? Outside the courtyard, the sect master who had just flown in was flabbergasted. He could clearly sense that Li Cheng's aura had merged with heaven and earth, which clearly indicated that he had entered the legendary state of enlightenment. In 10,000 years, our sect has not had anyone enter the state of enlightenment. Junior Martial Uncle is amazing. Enlightenment was a cultivator's greatest opportunity. And of course, he dared not disturb Li Cheng. Waiting quietly instead, a day passed, and the sect master's expression suddenly changed, hurriedly taking flight and retreating. Having retreated, he saw the vegetation near Li Cheng's courtyard growing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Is this the power of life? No. Could it be the most profound time law? The sect master's expression turned shocked. With his insight, he of course knew that Junior Martial Uncle had triggered some sort of law power, and the most likely was the time law. The next moment, the growth of the vegetation stopped, and Li Cheng's aura reappeared, clearly indicating he had left the state of enlightenment. The sect master calmed himself, suppressing the shock in his heart, his eyes shifting towards the courtyard gate that a state of enlightenment, even if just for a brief moment, could bestow immense benefits, and he was very curious to find out just how much Li Cheng had gained after a day of enlightenment. From the way Junior Martial Uncle had triggered the law power earlier, could it be that he had mastered a certain law? The courtyard gate opened, and Li Cheng walked out, spirited and vigorous, immediately spotting the nearby sect master. Junior Martial Uncle. The sect master greeted with folded hands, looking Li Cheng up and down, as though trying to discern any changes in him. Li Cheng returned the greeting with a smile. What are you looking at? Junior Martial Uncle, after a day of enlightenment, seems even more unfathomable. It's a pity my cultivation is not on par with yours, and I can't discern it, the sect master said with a dry laugh. Li Cheng remained silent with a smile. Of course, it was natural. At this moment, he possessed a strand of the time law within him. Though it was just one strand, when utilized, it could already affect the flow of time within 100 meters around him. Li Cheng was looking forward to it, wondering what it would be like if he mastered 1,000 or even 10,000 strands in the future. Seeing that Li Cheng wasn't inclined to share more, the sect master changed the topic. Junior Martial Uncle, I heard you're planning to take disciples. What kind of disciple are you looking for? It will depend on fate. Speaking, Li Cheng's eyes brightened, and he turned his head towards the direction of the mountain peak. Disciple Yun Tianxiong comprehends fearless sword intent. Reward: 3 enlightenment opportunities. This fellow has comprehended sword intent. To grasp sword intent in the body refinement period, what talent? Li Cheng's eyes locked onto the mountaintop, and upon hearing the notification, his heart filled with astonishment. Yun Tianxiong hadn't even entered the Qi refinement realm, yet he had comprehended sword intent. He thought he was exceptional enough. When he had grasped the concept of sword intent, he had already reached the level of the Qi refinement realm. He hadn't expected someone to be even more ruthless than himself. At the summit, a sword intent surged forward with an unstoppable momentum, fearless and soaring into the sky. The sect master's eyes showed surprise as he shifted his gaze to the mountaintop. Is that Yun Tianxiong? He had asked the first elder in detail and knew that the junior uncle had left Yun Tianxiong a sword scar to comprehend for 3 days. This was only the second day, yet Yun Tianxiong had already comprehended sword intent. The sect master opened his mouth, but in the end, he didn't speak, though his heart had already turned bitter. What happened to the good-for-nothing they had talked about? To comprehend sword intent in the body refinement period more fiercely than the junior uncle, how could this be called a good-for-nothing? He felt sorrowful now. He wanted to find a no-hoper for the junior uncle to instruct, to get him to realize the difficulty and ascend quickly. But now, it's over. The junior uncle surely cherished talent deeply and wouldn't want to ascend anymore. The sect master indeed has an extraordinary vision, to be able to find such a monster. Li Cheng took a long breath and laughed. The sect master turned to Li Cheng, and seeing the satisfied look on his face, his heart grew even more bitter. Coughing discreetly, the sect master laughed. Congratulations to the junior uncle. This person has an extraordinary talent in the sword Dao. If he focuses on the sword Dao, I'm afraid it will only take him 30 years to step into the transcendence tribulation stage. With that, the sect master let out a long sigh. Alas, I'm envious. Standing on the shoulders of giants makes all the difference in starting out. Li Cheng's mouth twitched. This flattery was unanticipated and stealthy. In his mouth, he had become a giant. The sword scar is still there, sect master. If you're interested, you could go take a look, Li Cheng said, somewhat exasperatedly. The sect master knew Li Cheng was joking and awkwardly changed the subject. I heard that the junior uncle hasn't formally taken him on. Are you planning to do so now? Clearly, the sect master still harbored a glimmer of hope. Li Cheng shook his head. Not yet decided. Let's wait and see. The sect master was overjoyed inside. Don't take him. Please don't take him. How would you ascend if you did? At that moment, Yun Tianxiong, having hurried down from the mountaintop, saw the two of them and quickly came forward to offer his respects. I greet master and sect master. Yun Tianxiong bowed deeply, his eyes filled with utmost reverence. The sect master nodded slightly and turned his gaze to Li Cheng. Li Cheng looked at Yun Tianxiong. You still have 2 days. Aren't you continuing to gain insight? Yun Tianxiong bowed again. Master, I wish to return to the Cloud Mysterious Dynasty to settle a grudge from 10 years ago. Li Cheng laughed. The sect master frowned. Dynasty? Cultivators don't interfere with secular affairs. Young man, don't go too far. The smile on Li Cheng's face grew wider. Not having reached foundation establishment, one cannot be considered a cultivator. Upon hearing this, Yun Tianxiong was ecstatic. This was support for him to go. Li Cheng flicked his finger and a burst of sword qi suddenly appeared before him. Do what you want to do. Follow your heart. As long as you bear no shame in your heart, that's enough. I bestow this sword qi upon you for protection. Having said this, the sword qi flashed and entered Yun Tianxiong's arm. The sect master watched in shock as the sword qi, which contained the power of the junior uncle, entered Yun Tianxiong. Once unleashed, it was something no one below the complete stage of tribulation crossing could withstand. It's done for. Such a powerful sword qi was bestowed. It's a certainty he would take Yun Tianxiong as a disciple now. Yun Tianxiong looked at his arm in shock. He could feel the terror of the sword qi and understood that his master was officially agreeing to take him on. Thank you for your generous gift, master. Yun Tianxiong quickly knelt and kowtowed deeply 3 times, as a sign of gratitude and as an official acceptance of discipleship. Li Qing nodded. You're now the senior brother of our sect's disciples. You'll have many junior brothers and sisters in the future, and your every action will be an example for them. Don't disappoint me. The sect master by their side was stunned. There would be many disciples? What's the point now? Wasn't the junior uncle supposed to ascend? Is the plan going to fall through? As Yun Tianxiong already departed, the sect master was still unable to come back to his senses. Sect master, what's with that expression? Haven't you always wanted me to recruit disciples widely? Li Qing asked, speechless. The muscles on the sect master's face twitched. Little uncle master, times have changed. Can you stop recruiting disciples and ascend sooner? It was a showdown. No more beating around the bush. Li Qing shook his head with a smile. Narrow-minded. My staying here and taking in disciples brings far more benefits than ascending. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Li Qing certainly understood the sect master's thoughts, but to ascend to the immortal world and become a nobody? That was impossible. After all, that was the immortal realm, where strong practitioners were a dime a dozen, as common as dogs. It wasn't safe. The Kunlun realm was better by far, where, if he didn't run into a powerful loose immortal, he stood at the pinnacle of combat might. The sect master's face was full of reluctance, which slowly turned into skepticism. Really? Li Qing nodded. Won't we know in a few years? All right, you can go. I will continue my enlightenment. The sect master nodded helplessly and flew away. Suddenly, the sect master paused, turning his head to look at Li Qing. Enlightenment again? That wasn't right. Enlightenment was a great opportunity. Could it just happen whenever one said so? Perhaps the little uncle master misspoke? With that thought, the sect master hastened his departure. The inner gate was opening tomorrow for disciple recruitment. He had to see how well prepared the elders were. As for persuading the little uncle master to ascend, that could be put on hold. Perhaps he wouldn't find any satisfactory disciples. The sect master, now far from the 18th peak, was oblivious to the fact that Li Qing had indeed entered a state of enlightenment once again. The next day at noon, Li Qing woke from his enlightenment, amazed to discover that his spiritual sense had increased by more than double. Before, releasing his spiritual sense could cover 100 miles. Now, it could envelop over 200 miles. Every blade of grass and tree within this range was within his spiritual sense perception. After marveling for a moment, Li Qing looked toward his nascent soul, only to see that there were already 3 temporal laws within it. With 2 more enlightenments, I should be able to increase it to 10, right? Having already become much more adept at grasping the laws through 2 enlightenments, the next enlightenment would surely allow for an understanding of even more laws. But for now, it was time to attend the grand ceremony of opening the mountain. System. Keep your eyes peeled and notify me immediately when you see someone who can be taken as a disciple. As he spoke, Li Qing took off towards the central area of the sect. The sensing range is 1% of the spiritual sense coverage area. Any fated person appearing in this range will be notified. Hearing the prompt, Li Qing felt somewhat speechless. Wasn't this sensing range a bit too small? Such a weak system. Detected disciple meeting the criteria on the mountain ahead. The abrupt alert caused Li Qing's eyes to light up, and he quickly halted. Where? Li Qing extended his spiritual sense, enveloping the dozen or so peaks ahead. The very next moment, a huge arrow appeared above a great hall. Seeing the giant green arrow within his spiritual sense, Li Qing was stunned for a moment, knowing this was the system marking the location for him. But was this large green arrow seriously not a joke? Green arrow. All right, that's the 7th peak, the domain of the 7th elder. You want me to poach from his territory. The 7th elder is notoriously stubborn, impenetrable like a block of salt. This will be tough to handle, but I really have to poach. Li Qing stroked his chin, his gaze shifting toward the nearby square where a sea of heads had already gathered. It was clearly about to begin. I'll go check out the square first, then head over to the 7th peak. Having made up his mind, Li Qing's form flickered, and he appeared above the square. The central square of the Heavenly Mechanism Sect was already packed with people. Tens of thousands had gathered, creating an incredibly spectacular scene. With Li Qing's arrival, the square instantly erupted. Look quickly. our sect's most powerful 18th elder has come. I heard that the 18th elder is recruiting disciples. Hurry, if you're noticed by him, you'll soar to the skies. Don't push, the 18th elder is mine. In the blink of an eye, the crowd surged towards Li Cheng. Silence. At the center of the square, the sect master stood abruptly, his powerful true yuan energy sweeping out, suppressing the entire venue. The crowd, which had just been boiling with excitement, suddenly fell silent, no one daring to act recklessly in the face of an elder's overwhelming pressure. Li Cheng had just landed on the viewing platform when he saw all the elders fixing him with resentful gazes, including the sect master. Li Cheng shrugged speechlessly. You're acting like a bunch of resentful women. No need for that. Carry on. I'm just here to watch. Having said that, Li Cheng casually found a seat to sit down. Of course, the elders felt resentful, because with Li Cheng's arrival, these tens of thousands of disciples all rushed to become his apprentices. They were worried that if Li Cheng said they were fated with him, how could they recruit anyone? Wouldn't they all be snatched away by Li Cheng? Little Uncle Master, are you planning to find a few fated individuals today? The sect master asked, his voice carrying a mix of resignation and concern. Li Cheng shrugged. It all depends on fate. Sect master, please proceed with your duties. With that, Li Cheng saw the seventh elder, a flicker of joy crossing his eyes. Calling upon his true yuan, he moved his chair to sit beside the seventh elder. The seventh elder, who had been sitting upright, visibly hesitated before speaking. Little Uncle Master, do you need my help with alchemy? The seventh peak is the alchemy peak, and the seventh elder is the most impressive pill master of the sect. Can you make a tribulation crossing pill? Li Cheng asked curiously. As soon as these words were uttered, everyone's ears perked up. A tribulation crossing pill, as the name implies, is a spirit pill that helps cultivators overcome their lightning tribulations. Little Uncle Master isn't rushing to cross his tribulation, but is busy recruiting disciples. Could it be he's worried about failing the tribulation? The elders all had this thought crossing their minds. The sect master's eyes sparkled. If that was the case, then they must procure a tribulation crossing pill for the Little Uncle Master at all costs. I am sorry, Little Uncle Master. The tribulation crossing pill is the most precious and difficult spirit pill to make in the world. I don't have that ability, the seventh elder said with an embarrassed expression. No worries, I was just asking. Li Cheng said with a smile. He didn't need a tribulation crossing pill. Even before his enlightenment, he was confident he could easily cross the tribulation. Now that he had mastered the 3 temporal laws, crossing the tribulation would be even easier. Suddenly, Li Cheng was taken aback. Why didn't he feel that imminent sensation of being able to trigger a tribulation anymore? Little Uncle Master, after the inner gates opening ceremony concludes, I will personally go to the pill sect to procure a tribulation crossing pill, the sect master said, interrupting Li Cheng's contemplation. In the entire Kunlun Southern Region, only the pill sect could make tribulation crossing pills. However, given their high value, even with the sect master's status, there was no guarantee he could obtain one, but for the sake of ensuring the Little Uncle Master's successful tribulation crossing, he was prepared to go all out. Li Cheng hurriedly shook his head. No need. I was just asking. Actually, I want to understand the alchemy Tao. All the high-ranking members simultaneously turned their attention to Li Cheng. Please don't delve into other paths. Recruiting disciples has already taken up so much time. And if you start exploring the alchemy Tao now, when will you be able to ascend? Stroking his beard, the seventh elder spoke with a serious expression. Little Uncle Master, it's not my place to refuse as your junior, but a person's energy is limited. I do not recommend that you delve into the alchemy Tao. Of course, Li Cheng didn't actually want to practice alchemy. His statement was just meant to build rapport with the seventh elder to make it easier to win him over later. The alchemy Tao is difficult, isn't it? Li Cheng inquired. The seventh elder pondered, looked at Li Cheng, then around at the many high-ranking officials, as if seeking their consensus. Li Cheng, however, sensed that these individuals were communicating with one another through their spiritual sense. But their spiritual sense communication was no different from speaking right into Li Cheng's ear, as he heard everything loud and clear. After all, Li Cheng's spiritual sense was much, much stronger than theirs. Elder 7, give a copy of your Alchemy Dao insights to our junior uncle, so he might see the difficulty and back off. Absolutely, we can't let junior uncle take an interest in the Alchemy Dao. Li Cheng pretended not to hear. Elder 7 cleared his throat unwillingly and took out a jade slip. Junior uncle, the Alchemy Dao is indeed not easy. Please, take a look at my insights recorded in this jade slip. Li Cheng took the jade slip. I suppose not even your true disciples have received this, have they? Elder 7, you are too kind. I'll have a look and return it in a few days. As he spoke, Li Cheng casually stored it in his storage ring. He really wasn't interested in it. He would hold on to it for a few days, poach his talent, and then return it. Junior uncle, if there's nothing else, let's get started. The sect master changed the topic. Li Cheng nodded. Don't mind me. You guys go ahead. Everyone was used to it. When it came to sect affairs, the junior uncle never got involved. The Inner Gates Mountain opening ceremony began. Li Cheng was bored, and the system was too weak, able only to sense within a range of just over 2 miles whether a disciple met the requirements. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. With that thought, Li Cheng delved into his nascent soul, directing it to fly out and swiftly pass over the plaza. Soon, Li Cheng's nascent soul had finished its circuit of the plaza and returned to his body. System, how is it? Are there any disciples that meet the requirements? None. What? Li Cheng's face was a picture of incredulity. Seriously? Not a single one among tens of thousands of people. I just don't buy it. Li Cheng clenched his teeth secretly, and the nascent soul flew out again. This time, Li Cheng was intent on inspecting the entire sect. With 1 million disciples, Li Cheng refused to believe that only one from the 7th peak met the criteria. Soon enough, the nascent soul returned, but the outcome left Li Cheng stunned. Such a huge sect, with over 1 million disciples, and only Yun Tianxiong and that little girl from the 7th peak meet the requirements. Correct. All right, achieving enlightenment is trickier than I thought, but it's not a big problem. Undoubtedly, the more disciples there were, the more chances of enlightenment he would have. Since he could only find 2 disciples within the sect, he would look elsewhere once he had harvested the crops sufficiently. For now, he would focus on poaching that little girl from the 7th peak. Just before, Li Cheng had specifically gone to check out the 7th peak, where the green arrow pointed to a girl around 15 or 16 years old. Judging by her attire, she was not an inner sect disciple, but a pill child of the 7th peak. If she was just a pill child, then it would be much easier to deal with. With that thought, Li Cheng pulled out the jade slip given by Elder 7 and delved into it with his mind to check its contents. A moment later, Li Cheng pretended to ponder deeply. As expected, Elder 7 couldn't help but ask, Junior uncle, how is it? The other elders perked up their ears too. Alchemy Dao. How could it be so simple? If it were that easy, there would be pill masters everywhere. Li Cheng mused. I have grasped something. Elder 7, could you do me a favor? Elder 7, looking suspicious, clasped his hands. Please speak, Junior uncle. Li Cheng grinned. Since I've gained an insight, I'll need a pill child. Elder 7, I ask for your permission to poach from your corner. No way, Junior uncle. You should find a pill child from another peak. My pill children from the 7th peak are not to be taken. Elder 7 refused outright without a second thought. Li Cheng shrugged. I'll take her as my disciple, a true disciple. The senior members of the sect stared at Li Cheng in astonishment. After all that circumlocution, was he after the pill children of the 7th peak? They couldn't fathom which lucky pill child it was to be singled out by the junior grandmaster. That one might soar to the heavens, just as Yun Tianxiong had. The 7th elder also froze for a moment. Junior grandmaster wants to take a pill child from my 7th peak as a disciple. Yes, 7th elder, rest assured. I will guide them earnestly and will not let you down. Li Cheng said. The 7th elder quickly shook his head. Junior grandmaster, please forgive me, but the disciples of my 7th peak aspire to the Alchemy Dao and aren't suitable for you. All the elders raised their eyebrows. To be chosen by the junior grandmaster was surely a great fortune for that pill child, but they all hoped the junior grandmaster would ascend soon. Taking on a disciple now would not be so fortunate. Li Cheng knew this would be the outcome. What a pointless roundabout. Li Cheng's eyebrows twitched slightly. If you won't give them to me, I'll just take them. The muscles on the seventh elder's face twitched. Junior Grandmaster, you must be reasonable. Cough, cough. Junior Grandmaster, since it's a pill child we're talking about, they would definitely be pursuing the alchemy Tao, and such a disciple can only develop better at the seventh peak, the sect master said. Exactly, Junior Grandmaster. You should consider someone from another peak. No, that's not right. You should focus on guiding Yin Tianxiong. The first elder also advised that Li Cheng stroked his chin, then shook his head. Actually, I do have a certain expertise in the alchemy Tao. With me, it won't be any worse than staying at the seventh peak. The elders were shocked. By that logic, was his mastery of the alchemy Tao better than the seventh peaks? Bragging without even writing a draft. Huh? Who didn't know that he had just read the seventh elder's insights on alchemy Tao and had never practiced alchemy himself? The seventh elder was not pleased. His old face darkened as he turned his head away, unwilling to engage with Li Cheng. Li Cheng touched his nose. Seventh elder doesn't believe me? How about a competition? Huh? All the senior members looked at Li Cheng in amazement. Was he implying he wanted to compete with the seventh elder in alchemy? The seventh elder's face darkened even more. But the other party was the junior grandmaster, and with powerful strength, he couldn't act rashly. After a few seconds of deliberation, the seventh elder took a deep breath. Junior Grandmaster, please don't play with me. I'm serious. You can't refine a tribulation crossing pill, can you? After this grand ceremony ends, I'll come to the seventh peak to consult with you, Li Cheng said with a smile. The seventh elder's face twitched slightly. No problem. I admire those whose alchemy Tao skills surpass mine the most. If the junior Grandmaster truly impresses me, I certainly won't obstruct my disciple's future. Then it's settled. Li Cheng was overjoyed. His figure flickered, and he vanished from the spot. As Li Cheng left, the crowd exchanged glances. Could the junior Grandmaster also be a genius in alchemy? But the grand ceremony would end in, at most, 3 days. In such a short time, could the junior Grandmaster, who had never touched the alchemy Tao, truly impress the seventh elder? Seventh elder, which of your pill children caught the eye of the junior Grandmaster? Someone asked curiously. The seventh elder shook his head. I have more than 1,000 pill children on my seventh peak. Who knows which one the junior Grandmaster took a fancy to? That's not the point. The important thing is to prevent the junior Grandmaster from taking on another disciple. With the junior Grandmaster looking so confident, I'm rather curious. How will he break into the alchemy Tao in such a short time? The sect master mused hopefully. It wasn't just him who was curious. Everyone was that it was simply out of curiosity. Everyone knows it's impossible to surpass the first elder in alchemy Tao within 3 days. To surpass the accumulation of hundreds of years by the first elder in just 3 days, how is anyone else supposed to live? At 18th peak, Li Cheng returned and sat down cross-legged, checking the jade slip given by the first elder and preparing to use his opportunities for enlightenment. Yes, this was where Li Cheng's confidence lay. In a state of enlightenment, one would make rapid progress in any Tao one focused on. Now with 2 opportunities for enlightenment, if he could surpass the first elder in alchemy Tao, that would be a huge win. Under normal circumstances, 2 or 3 days would only suffice to grasp the basics. But Li Cheng had strong cultivation to sustain him and, with enlightenment, naturally progressed rapidly. In the Qi refinement realm, one absorbs spiritual energy, transforming it into a sea of Qi. Refining the Qi into a vortex, one can become a level 1 pill master, followed by foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, divinity transformation, fusion Tao, and Mahayana, each corresponding to a higher level of pill master. The first elder, being at fusion Tao stage, could at most become a level 6 pill master, while I, at the transcendence tribulation stage, could reach up to a level 8 pill master. Let's not talk about level 8. As long as I reach level 7, that would be enough to make the first elder concede wholeheartedly. Come on, enlightenment. The next moment, Li Cheng entered a state of enlightenment, his mind clear and void, with only the vast knowledge of alchemy Tao surging within it. In no time at all, the insights on alchemy Tao given by the first elder were fully grasped by Li Cheng, and on that foundation, He made further deductions, continuously pushing forward like a T this moment. Li Cheng understood what the sect master once said. Starting from the shoulders of a giant, one would already be beyond the reach of ordinary people. The first elder's alchemy Tao might not be that of a giant, but as a level 6 pill master, he had saved Li Cheng a lot of trouble. The next day, Li Cheng reluctantly exited the state of enlightenment. His achievement in alchemy Tao had already surpassed the first elder, reaching the level of a level 7 pill master. This was faster than Li Cheng had anticipated, but since he had never refined pills himself, there would be shortcomings in actual practice. After ruminating for a while, Li Cheng did not rush to continue deducing alchemy Tao, as based on the first elder's insights. He had reached his current limit. To advance further in alchemy Tao, he needed to master more knowledge of alchemy Tao. However, there was another path, and that was to strengthen true fire. True fire, condensed from true yuan, would make pill refining much more efficient, and with powerful true fire, one could refine pills above one's level to become a higher level pill master. Of course, one could also seek heaven and earth spirit fire to refine it, but there was not enough time, and such spirit fires were not easily found. As he pondered, Li Cheng made a decision, using another opportunity for enlightenment. This time to comprehend the rule of fire. If true fire contained a rule of fire, it would undoubtedly boost the power of true fire manifold. Then, whether used for pill refining, artifact refining, or combat, it would be an extremely strong technique. As dusk approached, the grand ceremony was still in full swing at the Plaza in these 2 days. Over 90% of disciples had been eliminated, leaving only a few thousand competing for rankings. The better the ranking one managed to secure, the more attention one would receive from the higher-ups of the inner gate, and the more likely one would become an inner sect disciple. Therefore, all disciples were going all out, pulling out all the stops to pass through the successive selections. These more than 2,000 disciples are not bad. They have the potential to become the elite of the sect. Note down their names, for even if they cannot become inner sect disciples, the various peaks of the outer door should pay special attention to them. The sect master said, pointing at the crowd in the plaza, contentedly. The elders nodded in agreement. At this point in the ceremony, the higher-ups of the sect already had several candidates in mind, just waiting for the selection process to continue. Sect master, shall we conclude for today? It's getting dark, the first elder suggested. The sect master nodded, about to speak, but then he noticed the already dim sky suddenly flare with light, and the whole world became bright as day. As dusk was descending, suddenly, the dim world brightened as if it were broad daylight. Everyone in the sect, completely stunned, turned their heads to look around in disbelief. What was happening? The sun had set quite a while ago. Could it have risen again? Look quickly, the 18th peak. What is that? How can there be a sun above the 18th peak? The crowd was in an uproar, staring incredulously at the sky. The higher-ups of the sect slightly changed their expressions, and the sect master immediately took out the array plate. All elders, follow me in activating the mountain protection array. Without any hesitation, the sect master poured all his true yuan into the array plate, and in an instant, layers of light membranes quickly rose, enveloping each peak separately. As these light membranes converged, they combined their powerful aura to form an even larger light membrane, like an upside-down golden bowl, covering the whole sect. With the formation activated, the higher-ups of the sect fixated on the 18th peak, their hearts racing, only to see hundreds of meters above the peak's summit, a scorching sun was suspended. Within the blazing sun, a figure with an elegant demeanor could be faintly seen. "It's Junior Uncle," the sect master murmured. All the elders nodded, their expressions full of tension. Junior Uncle is playing with fire. Focusing their gaze, they saw that beginning from the summit of the 18th peak, it was melting rapidly, obviously unable to withstand the heat of the true fire emitted by Li Cheng. The true fire of someone at the complete stage of the transcendence tribulation stage shouldn't be this powerful, right? Could it be the heaven and earth spirit fire? The seventh elder's pupils shrank, his voice losing strength as he spoke. "Don't think too much now. Put all your effort into the formation. We must prevent Junior Uncle's true fire from spreading beyond the 18th peak. Otherwise, the entire sect will be reduced to ashes, the sect master said gravely at this moment. The 18th peak had been shortened considerably, with all the vegetation within turned to ash. If such power were to spread, the other peaks would meet the same unfortunate fate. All the elders were exerting their full strength to maintain the array, attempting to seal off the heat from the 18th peak, but, after only a short moment, their true yuan was nearly exhausted. Sect Master, we can't keep this up, quickly asked the loose immortal ancestors of our sect to take action. Or wake up Junior Uncle. The sect master shook his head firmly. Junior Uncle is in the midst of an enlightenment. How can such an opportunity be interrupted? I'll ask the loose immortal ancestors for help right away. Saying this, the sect master took out a jade slip and crushed it. The jade slip shattered, and a strange fluctuation instantly spread out. The next moment, a burly figure suddenly appeared above the sect. He surveyed the sect, and then turned his gaze toward Li Cheng, who was immersed in enlightenment, a look of surprise crossing the depths of his eyes. Uncle Bai, help us stabilize the array quickly. The sect master urgently communicated upon seeing the burly young man. We have no shortage of loose immortals in our sect, but to think that Uncle Bai would be the one to react. He's a 5-time tribulation loose immortal, no less. The first elder exclaimed in a low voice, astounded. This person was named by Tie, a senior of Li Cheng's, who had already overcome 5 loose immortal tribulations, incredibly powerful. Cultivators could provoke the Heaven Tribulation once they reached the complete stage of the tribulation crossing, and ascending to the Immortal World was possible after successfully overcoming it. However, failing to transcend the tribulation meant either the soul would be scattered, or the nascent soul would escape and turn to the path of loose immortal. Yet, becoming a loose immortal meant losing the qualification to ascend, and every 1,000 years, the loose immortal tribulation would descend. Surviving it would allow one to live another 1,000 years in agony, but failing meant the soul would be dissipated. Despite this, the order of heaven and earth always leaves some hope. Loose immortals couldn't ascend, but could still reach the immortal world using the legendary ascend to immortal platform or the sky-reaching road. Once in the immortal world, it was quite easy to transform all the true yuan inside the body into immortal yuan and to condense the immortal infant and immortal body. At that point, one would no longer be a loose immortal, but a true immortal. Unfortunately, the ascend to immortal platform and the sky-reaching road had long since become legends. Bai Tie appeared beside the sect master and casually blasted a stream of true yuan into the array plate. Move aside. Leave it to me. 5 tribulations loose immortal, his inner true yuan mingled with immortal yuan, was of course incomparable to the masses. He alone was more than capable of easily sustaining the formation. The sect master and the others all breathed a sigh of relief, simultaneously restoring their true yuan while intently watching the 18th peak. The one currently experiencing enlightenment. Is he the sole disciple of Uncle Wia? If my memory serves me right, he has only been cultivating for 30 years, right? Bai Tie said in surprise. All nodded in agreement, their eyes filled with pride. For an ordinary cultivator, reaching complete stage of the transcendence tribulation in 1,000 years would be considered fast. Yet Li Cheng had spent merely 30 years, which was the pride of the entire Heavenly Mechanism Sect. With everyone's affirmation, Bai Tie kept clicking his tongue in amazement. Such a monstrous talent. If he were to go to the immortal world, he would surely receive intense nurturing from the ancestor master. Let's have him undergo the tribulation and ascend later. When the topic of undergoing the tribulation to ascend was raised, the pride in everyone's eyes instantly turned to helplessness. Sect Master said, Uncle Master hasn't planned to cross the tribulation to ascend. Who knows what he's actually thinking? He just took on a disciple a few days ago, and now he is prepared to take another. Nonsense. How can such talent be wasted lingering in the Kunlun realm? Haven't you all tried to persuade him? Sect Master shook his head helplessly. Uncle Master said that the benefits he can reap here outweigh those of ascending. Bai Tie's eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly turned to look at Sect Master. What do you think? Sect Master still shook his head. It is yet to be known. Bai Tie fell silent, and after a long while, he spoke again. Let's wait for Uncle Wuya to return and persuade him. He has been out for 30 years. He should be back soon. All nodded in agreement, with the first elder saying, "Not sure if Uncle Ancestor Wuya found the ascend to Immortal platform or the sky-reaching road." "Probably not. The ascend to Immortal platform, the sky-reaching road. Ever since Grand Venerable Baijie disappeared, they have never reappeared. Let's not talk about this. All of you continue presiding over the ritual ceremony, and leave the 18th peak to me." As Baijie spoke, he grasped the array plate and flew to the airspace above the 18th peak, hovering a kilometer away from Li Cheng. Observing him meticulously, true fire surged around Li Cheng's body like a scorching sun, illuminating the entire heavens and earth. Even with the formation blocking, Baijie could still sense the terror of that true fire. The might of this true fire is catching up to the leading heaven and earth spirit fires. How is this possible? Baijie muttered to himself. Could it be that he has merged with the rule of fire? Baijie suddenly thought of this possibility. If that was the case, once he reached the immortal world in the future and transformed the rule of fire he had merged with into the immortal Tao laws, then his future achievements would surely be that of an immortal world powerhouse. Excited by this thought, Baijie became eager. Can't wait for Uncle Wuya to return. I must find a way to have this junior brother ascend. This is a future powerhouse of the immortal world. How can he shrink back in the Kunlun realm? To ascend earlier is to become a powerhouse sooner. With this idea in mind, Baijie pondered, what method should he use? Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was the next day. The true fire surrounding Li Cheng had grown even stronger, and, despite the formation's protection, the 18th peak had been completely destroyed. The mountain peak that once soared into the clouds had now disappeared, leaving behind only a lake of magma. Seeing all this, Baijie didn't care. It was simple to find another mountain peak to replace it. What troubled him was that he still hadn't thought of a method at that moment. Li Cheng slowly opened his eyes, and the true fire around his body quickly retracted. In an instant, it had vanished, leaving only a shocking heat wave sweeping through the formation. Opening his eyes to see Baijie hovering in the air, Li Cheng was stunned and quickly clasped his hands in thanks. "Thank you, Senior, for playing the protector." Baijie's brow raised slightly. "Senior? My name is Baijie. We are of the same generation. You can simply call me Senior Brother." Li Cheng's eyes lit up, and he clasped his hands again. "So it's Senior Brother Tie. It's an honor to meet you. My master often speaks of you." "Oh, is that so?" Baijie became interested. Li Cheng was not lying. His master often mentioned Baijie. Of course it's true. Master often says that the one he admires the most is you, Senior Brother Tie. Li Cheng said with a smile. These words were indeed true. Baijie had reached the complete stage of the transcendence tribulation stage in just 300 years, which was a testament to his extraordinary talent. But when he was crossing his tribulation, he deliberately attracted the tribulation thunder to shatter his physical body, and his nascent soul fled, shifting to cultivate as a loose immortal in the following 700 years. He triggered the loose immortal tribulation 5 times, each time crossing it with ease, becoming a 5. Tribulation's loose immortal with inscrutable strength. The loose immortal tribulation, originally occurring once every 1,000 years and becoming increasingly stronger with each occurrence, is something most loose immortals hope comes later rather than sooner. Baijie, however, was different. He actively summoned the loose immortal tribulation, using it to strengthen himself with its tribulation thunder. In just 700 years, he crossed it 5 times, gaining the strength of a 5 tribulations loose immortal. He did this, naturally, for the sake of the sect. Having crossed the loose immortal tribulation 5 times in 700 years, for the next 4,300 years, the loose immortal tribulation would not seek him out unless he summoned it himself. It was clear that Baijie would do so again. Uncle Wuya really said he admires me? Baijie looked somewhat excited before adding, but he is a 10 tribulations loose immortal, known as 10 tribulations Wuya. Li Cheng, wearing a smile, thought that the master must admire him for sacrificing his own prospects for the sake of the sect. A sect's top combat power lies in its loose immortals. A sect without loose immortals at its helm might unwittingly provoke the wrong entities and could be annihilated at any moment. But with loose immortals, especially ones like Baijie, who have crossed multiple loose immortal tribulations, Even an immortal descending to the mortal world would not dare to provoke them. Casually, historical records state that 100,000 years ago, many powerful beings from the immortal world came down to the Kunlun realm and did as they pleased, until a loose immortal intervened and killed all those powerful beings. That loose immortal was known as Grand Venerable by Jia. No one knows for sure if Grand Venerable by Jia had really passed hundreds of loose immortal tribulations, as that might be too exaggerated. However, the site of those powerful immortal world beings' demise still exists today, with powerful immortal power fluctuations lingering. Since then, no immortals have dared to openly descend to the Kunlun realm. Nonetheless, Grand Venerable by Jia has not been seen for a long time. There are rumors that he disappeared more than 10,000 years ago, which is why, over these 10,000 years, the immortal world seems to have forgotten the bitter lessons of the past and has begun to plot something once again. Uncle Weia actually said he admires me. Huh? Bai Tianyi laughed heartily. Li Cheng could understand Bai Tianyi's feelings. Bai Tianyi probably saw his master as an idol, and hearing a word of admiration from his idol naturally filled him with joy. After a short while, Bai Tianyi calmed his emotions and turned to ask, "Little junior brother, why don't you cross your tribulation and ascend? Are you afraid of failing the tribulation?" "That's not it. I just don't want to ascend so quickly. I want to train a few disciples, that's all," Li Cheng replied with a dry laugh. Bai Tianyi stepped forward, patted Li Cheng on the shoulder, and said, "With your talent, it won't take many years for you to become one of the strongest in the immortal world. That is your stage. You shouldn't stay here." Li Cheng was speechless. Here was yet another one trying to persuade him to ascend. Ascension was out of the question. Li Cheng planned to seek enlightenment repeatedly, using it to comprehend laws and grow stronger before considering it. The strength of Grand Venerable by Jia 100,000 years ago had guided countless descendants. One didn't necessarily have to be in the immortal world to become powerful. Li Cheng, through enlightenment, could understand the laws and become very strong as well. Li Cheng was fully confident that he could even surpass Grand Venerable by Jia of the past. When that time came, he would ascend and need only to transform the immortal Tao laws to become a great power. Would that not be good? "Senior brother Tianyi, I have made up my mind," Li Cheng said without further explanation, his tone unequivocal. Bai Tianyi, feeling helpless, could only nod, and after a few more idle chats, he left. But Li Cheng saw that Bai Tianyi did not want to let it go so easily. It didn't matter though. As long as he did not wish it, how could others force him to ascend? No longer dwelling on it, Li Cheng examined the changes from his moment of enlightenment. First was his spiritual sense, which had grown much stronger than before, now encompassing an area of over 300 miles. Then came the laws. Within his nascent soul, 2 additional laws of fire had emerged. With these laws of fire, his true fire had become much more powerful than before. "I've used up my chances for enlightenment, and Yun Tianxiong definitely won't be returning soon. It's time to take on disciples." Li Cheng shifted his gaze to 7th Peak, and then glanced at the lake of magma beneath him. It was better to move a mountain over first. Otherwise, once he took disciples, they would have nowhere to stay. As he was about to step out, Li Cheng suddenly thought, did he need to do this task himself? His spiritual sense surged forth, locking onto the sect master within the palace of the Heaven Secret. "Sect master, could you please arrange for someone to help me move a mountain back here? I need one that's steep and majestic. I have already arranged for the 6th elder to take care of it. Uncle can rest easy." The 6th elder was proficient in formations, and the sect master had chosen him for the task, likely in the hopes that he could move a mountain back unscathed using his formations, as others would inevitably cause damage to the mountain. Since the sect master had already made arrangements, Li Cheng no longer needed to worry about it. His figure flickered, and he appeared on 7th Peak. The grand ceremony had concluded that day, and at present, 7th Peak was busy welcoming 30-some new disciples. Each peak among the inner gate would take in around 20 to 30 disciples annually, and 7th Peak had accepted quite a few this year. Being an inner sect disciple required at least the cultivation of the Golden Core stage, which in many smaller sects would be top-notch combat power, yet here it was just enough to qualify as an inner sect disciple. Li Cheng stood mid-air, not disrupting the welcome ceremony of 7th Peak. and only after the ceremony ended did he send a message to the seventh elder. The seventh elder felt quite helpless, as everyone in Seventh Peak was passionate about the alchemy Tao. Being noticed by Uncle was not necessarily a good thing. But since the words were already spoken, the seventh elder had no choice but to fly out of the hall with resignation, greeting with a cupped fist salute. Uncle. Li Cheng grinned. Seventh elder, I'm here as agreed. At the mention of this, the seventh elder's facial muscles involuntarily twitched. Uncle, how would you like to exchange skills? Li Cheng's smile was unwavering. Of course, through alchemy. Let's start with nascent soul-breaking Dan, and proceed to refine spirit-transforming Dan and fusion Tao pill respectively. We'll exchange insights as we practice our alchemy. The seventh elder was startled. These three spirit pills, used respectively to assist breakthroughs into the nascent soul stage, divinity transformation stage, and fusion Tao stage, were very difficult to refine. With the seventh elder's knowledge, there was no certainty of success. Does Uncle intend to make it a best of three? Asked the seventh elder doubtfully. Li Cheng shrugged noncommittally. It's just an exchange. Win or lose isn't important. The seventh elder looked at Li Cheng closely, feeling as though those words were a way to give himself a fallback. Indeed, while Li Cheng's theoretical knowledge was sufficient, he had never actually practiced alchemy. So how could he be overconfident in his statements? Just like when he had taken in Yun Tianxiong, Li Cheng hadn't dared to make full promises. If Yun Tianxiong hadn't intended on returning, Li Cheng would definitely not have accepted him. After all, if someone ignored their families, revenge, and national hatred, how could their state of mind ever be complete? In that case, their future achievements would be very limited. Fortunately, Yun Tianxiong had gained enlightenment from that sword scar and hurried back. This time was the same. By framing the discussion as an exchange, Li Cheng left an out, no matter who won or lost, right? After a moment of silence, the seventh elder finally nodded. It just so happens that all the disciples of Seventh Peak have emerged from seclusion. Such an opportunity for exchange is rare. If Uncle doesn't mind, I would like all disciples to come and observe. Li Cheng raised an eyebrow subtly. Are you sure you want everyone to come and observe? Allowing all disciples to witness. These words made Li Cheng hesitate. With thousands of disciples on Seventh Peak, refining pills in front of so many people would be terribly embarrassing if he failed. For a moment, Li Cheng felt like the stubborn seventh elder was trying to make a joke of him. He hadn't noticed it before, but did the seventh elder have such schemes? Did he want Li Cheng to realize the difficulty and back down? Seeming to understand what was going through Li Cheng's mind, the seventh elder hurriedly explained, Don't misunderstand me, Junior Uncle. Our Seventh Peak is different from the other peaks. Everyone is preoccupied with refining pills and rarely has the chance to gather. This time, with the Inner Gate Mountain opening ceremony, all disciples have put down their work, and it's a rare opportunity for us to assemble. So, I thought it would be good for all the disciples to observe me refining pills, hoping they could gain from the experience. The seventh elder's face was full of sincerity. Li Cheng realized that perhaps he had overthought the situation. All right, let's begin then. Li Cheng nodded. Although he had never refined pills before, backed by his strong cultivation and true fire, and armed with the knowledge of a seventh-rank pill master, he believed he would soon get the hang of it. Soon, the news spread throughout the Seventh Peak. The most powerful 18th elder of the sect was to exchange alchemy Tao knowledge with the seventh elder, and they would each refine 3 types of breakthrough pills. The entire Seventh Peak was boiling with excitement. All were eager to rush to the foot of Seventh Peak. They were unsure of the 18th elder's prowess in alchemy Tao, but knew that the 7th elder was a 6th-rank pill master. Watching him refining pills could save them years of hard training, and the pills to be refined this time were the most challenging type of breakthrough pills at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th levels. If they could gain some insights, it would benefit them for life. Eye in the sky, the sect's higher-ups gathered from all directions, heading straight for 7th Peak. Clearly, they too had received the news. Junior Uncle is really going through with the challenge? He doesn't think that alchemy relies solely on powerful true fire, does he? Alchemy, artifacts, and formations all require a significant accumulation of experience to excel. Junior Uncle has focused on cultivation for 30 years. Even with the sixth elder's imparted alchemy insights, it's impossible to achieve anything substantial in just 3 days. The challenge will at least let him realize the difficulty and ascend earlier. Hearing the elders discuss, the sect master also let out a sigh of relief. The sixth elder sent a message indicating that junior uncle has chosen to refine nascent soul-breaking Dan, spirit transforming Dan, and fusion Dao pill. These 3 spirit pills can be considered the strategic pills of any power. What is junior uncle thinking? Such spirit pills have only a 10 to 20% success rate, slightly higher, and it could lead to the creation of more nascent soul stage, divinity transformation stage, and fusion Dao stage powerhouses. For any power, this is extremely significant, not an overstatement to call it a strategic resource. And Li Cheng specifically chose to refine these 3 types of spirit pills, which is quite puzzling. Perhaps after obtaining powerful true fire, junior uncle feels capable of refining these 3 types of spirit pills. Haha, we'll know when we see. Let's not make blind guesses. At the foot of 7th Peak lies a plaza, used for alchemy Dao exchanges of the peaked, AT this moment. At the center of the plaza, 2 large 3-legged tripods stood, and the surrounding stands were already filled to capacity. Not only the 7th Peak residents, but many disciples from other peaks who had heard the news also rushed over, ready to enjoy the show. The 7th Elder is a 6th level pill master. Across the southern domain, he is already a top-tier pill master. Public pill refining is a rare opportunity indeed. Thanks to the 18th Elder, otherwise, how would we have the chance to watch the 7th Elder refine pills? That's true, look, here they come. All disciples seemed to automatically dismiss Li Cheng because, when it came to the alchemy Dao, no one in the entire sect could compare with the 7th Elder. When it comes to cultivation, Li Cheng is unrivaled, but regarding pill refining, everyone knows the real focus is the 7th Elder. Perhaps, Li Cheng was deliberately provoking the 7th Elder to refine pills publicly. So, when the 2 stepped into the arena, everyone automatically overlooked Li Cheng. Junior uncle, let's follow the old rules. 2 portions of materials for each spirit pill, regardless of success or failure. When they're used up, that's it. The 7th Elder said with a solemn expression, as though he were about to enter a battlefield. Li Cheng nodded. Relax a little. It's just an exchange. No need to be so serious. The 7th Elder did not say much, pointing to the 2 pill tripods in front of them. Junior uncle, both of these pill tripods are top-grade spiritual artifacts. Please, you choose first. Li Cheng glanced casually at the pill tripods and said, I remember our sect has a half-immortal artifact-level pill tripod. 7th Elder, try harder to communicate with it. If you can gain its approval, the success rate of alchemy could be improved by several percentages. The 7th Elder's heart felt as if it were being squeezed. That was a half-immortal artifact, not something you could obtain just by trying harder, but something that depended on fate. He had tried to communicate with it countless times, but the tripod had never responded to him. Next to the 2 pill tripods, 6 portions of materials had already been placed, all of them top-grade ingredients. Li Cheng walked up to one of the tripods, wrapped a portion of nascent soul-breaking Dan materials with his spiritual sense, and threw them into the tripod, then said, 7th Elder, let's get started then. The 7th Elder was stunned. Junior uncle, I have the pill recipe for the nascent soul-breaking Dan in my insights. Why did you throw everything in all at once? A pill recipe was something countless people had pondered and explored. Following the order in the pill recipe to melt and blend the herbs correctly involved considering the compatibility of various herbs. It couldn't be done recklessly. Such a haphazard approach, just dumping everything in at once, seemed more like stewing a pot of mixed vegetables. How was that alchemy? The different characteristics of each herb meant that even the slightest carelessness could cause the furnace to explode. Of course, a chaotic stew wouldn't work. This was common sense. The many disciples and high-ranking members watching all frowned. Was this Li Cheng's alchemy? From any perspective, wasn't this just a waste of ingredients? If you added some water, it might even feel like simmering traditional medicine. Li Cheng understood what the 7th Elder was thinking, nodded with a smile, and said, 7th Elder, when you refine each herb, you lift the lid to add another, but during this process, some of the pill chi inevitably escapes, subtly reducing the potency and even affecting the strength of the compatibility between the herbs. He continued, "So, I suggest you throw all the herbs in at once and use your spiritual sense to separate them within the tripod. Then, following the pill recipe's order, start melting and blending them. This way, you can maximize the retention of each herb's properties." Upon hearing this, the seventh elder couldn't help but roll his eyes. Such a technique was easy to talk about but extremely difficult to execute, as it was essentially multitasking. Without a powerful spiritual sense, it was unthinkable. However, if one really could do it, then, as Li Cheng had said, the success rate would indeed be higher. The seventh elder cleared his throat and said, "Well then, let's start." He didn't use the method that Li Cheng had suggested and instead started to methodically refine the nascent soul-breaking Dan. Having refined that spirit pill countless times, practice made perfect for him. Each of his movements seemed to resonate with some underlying Tao, eliciting awe from the spectators. Li Cheng did not rush to start refining, but observed the seventh elder instead. Before long, Li Cheng lost interest in continuing to watch and slapped the pill tripod with his palm. A surge of potent true fire instantly erupted as he began the alchemy process. At the sight of true fire, everyone was astonished. What terrifying true fire! The power of Li Cheng's true fire was concentrated on the pill tripod, but the emitted aura still took the crowd by surprise. The 18th elder truly is the strongest in the sect. With just his true fire, I fear even ordinary loose immortals would be defeated, right? I don't understand alchemy, but I'm curious. How can any herb withstand such strong true fire? Won't they instantly turn to ash? The many disciples started to discuss in low voices. They were unable to notice that at that moment, over a dozen extremely powerful spiritual senses had also descended onto the scene to observe in secret. Li Cheng detected these spiritual senses, and after a bit of thought, he understood. These were the sect's hidden loose immortals. Just for a session of alchemy, it had drawn out the loose immortals of the sect. More than a dozen powerful spiritual senses appeared on the scene, leaving Li Cheng somewhat astonished. A simple alchemy exchange, and it drew the attention of so many loose immortal elders. However, the fact that he could detect their spiritual senses was enough to demonstrate that Li Cheng's spiritual sense was no weaker than theirs. There must be some spiritual senses that I am unable to detect. I wonder how many loose immortal tribulations the most powerful loose immortal in the sect has transcended. Li Cheng thought with some curiosity. The existence of loose immortals in any sect is top secret. Even the sect master probably doesn't know exactly how many loose immortals there are, let alone the elders. Only the loose immortals themselves are likely to be aware of the specifics. Their presence is the last barrier of the sect. Unless there is a crisis, they simply would not take action, because once they do take action and suffer severe consumption or injury, then they would have great difficulty in transcending the next loose immortal tribulation. That would be a tremendous loss for the sect. This is the one who cultivated to such a level in 30 years. Li Cheng detected the fluctuation of a spiritual sense communicating. Indeed, his name is Li Cheng, the disciple of Uncle Wuya, a frighteningly prodigious talent. If only he could ascend to the immortal world a day sooner. Hold on, doesn't he not want to ascend for the time being? Let's just watch for now and discuss ascension later on. That's not appropriate. I think Bai Tianyi is right. A prodigious talent like him should ascend earlier and develop in the immortal world sooner. Li Cheng was speechless. If these loose immortal elders knew he had heard all their spiritual sense communications, it would be quite embarrassing. Discussing his ascension in front of him, was that proper? Never mind. He pretended not to hear and focused on refining the pill. Concentrating his mind, Li Cheng began to refine the pill with dedication. The materials for the nascent soul-breaking Dan had already been added to the tripod. As the true fire surged in and under Li Cheng's control, every herb was precisely melted down. Li Cheng was not refining and combining the herbs in order as he mentioned earlier, but melted all the herbs simultaneously. For ordinary pill masters, this was impossible, but Li Cheng's true fire was powerful and his spiritual sense strong, allowing him to precisely control the true fire to melt every herb perfectly in just over a dozen breaths' time. Li Cheng had begun to merge the pills. His speed in concocting was simply unbelievable. Over at the Elder's 7th station, The first herb hadn't even finished being refined that a few more breaths passed, and a lump of crystal-clear essence of spirit medicine appeared in the tripod. Fusion completed. Following that, under Li Cheng's control, the true fire weakened and started spinning rapidly, forming a fire dragon whirlwind in the tripod, spinning the essence of spirit medicine evenly into more than a dozen parts. And as the true fire annealed and weakened, each portion of the spirit medicine essence began to solidify. In just over a dozen breaths, Li Cheng retracted the true fire, leaving behind only more than a dozen spirit pills tumbling in the tripod. Who taught him this pill skill? It looks like a mess, yet the results are surprisingly good. A wave of spiritual sense communication arose again, but this was beyond Li Cheng's perception. Who in our sect knows such pill skill? He probably learned it from outside. Too fast. Within the time it takes to drink a few sips of tea, the kid has already refined a batch of nascent soul-breaking Dan. Looking at the quality, it's top-notch, impressive. Li Cheng, not noticing these exchanges, withdrew the true fire and then looked towards the materials for the spirit-transforming Dan, paying no attention to the pill tripod. Eighth Elder failed too quickly, didn't he? I said it. Such powerful true fire, the herbs for the nascent soul-breaking Dan cannot withstand it. It seems like there's some rolling sound inside the pill tripod. It's probably the sound of medicine dregs falling. People were discussing when they suddenly noticed a rich fragrance of pills wafting from the tripod. At this moment, the noise from the tripod ceased, indicating that the dozen or so nascent soul-breaking Dan had settled at the bottom of the pill tripod. Li Cheng casually lifted the lid of the pill tripod, swept it with his true yuan, and took out the nascent soul-breaking Dan. He then threw in the materials for the spirit-transforming Dan under Li Cheng's control. The 12 nascent soul-breaking Dan flew toward the pill child a few meters away. That instant, the scene became deathly quiet. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief, fixated on the nascent soul-breaking Dan, even forgetting to breathe. Those were the pills that aided in breaking through to the nascent soul stage, and in just a few dozen breaths, the 18th Elder had refined them. Everyone found their throats incredibly dry, and it took a while for someone to swallow saliva hard, coming back from the shock. How is this possible? Alchemy is a very precise process. It doesn't tolerate the slightest mistake, and even refining a first-level spirit pill takes time measured in hours. How did the 18th Elder manage to refine them in just dozens of breaths? How did the 18th Elder do it? It's not logical at all. Everyone on the 7th peak was stunned, for when had they ever seen alchemy like this? Before the crowd could think more, they saw that from the tripod in front of Li Cheng, the faint sound of rolling spirit pills came again, and Li Cheng began to inspect the materials for the fusion Dao pill. No way. The spirit-transforming Dan too, so quickly? How could this be? The 18th Elder is refining the spirit-transforming Dan even faster than he did the nascent soul-breaking Dan. All the disciples stood up, craning their necks to stare at the pill tripod before Li Cheng, their expressions filled with indescribable shock. Li Cheng opened the lid of the tripod, and 12 spirit-transforming Dan flew toward the pill child. Then, they saw Li Cheng toss the materials for the fusion Dao pill into the tripod. Powerful true fire and powerful spiritual sense made these pills seem no different to Li Cheng. Instead, as he had refined a couple of times, Li Cheng became even more proficient, and this time, refining the fusion Dao pill was even faster. According to Li Cheng's estimate, it took just 2 minutes from start to finish to complete the refining of the 3 grades of spirit pills. After taking out the fusion Dao pill, Li Cheng turned his gaze to the sect master watching from a distance. There should be materials for the unifying pill, tribulation crossing pill, and responding to calamity pill, right? Please arrange a set of each for me to try. The sect master, still in shock, came back to his senses at these words, swallowed his saliva, and turned his gaze to the people of the 7th peak. Don't just stand there. Hurry up and arrange it. After giving instructions, the sect master took a deep breath, feeling like he had seen a ghost. In just 3 days, Uncle had understood such an earth-shattering pill skill. Pills like the fusion Dao pill no longer satisfied Uncle. Now he was attempting to refine even higher-level pills like the unifying pill, tribulation crossing pill, and responding to calamity pill. The unifying pill could help one step into the Mahayana realm. The tribulation crossing pill helped one successfully cross the tribulation, and the responding to calamity pill aided a loose immortal to get through the loose immortal tribulation. Each was a strategic resource, especially the responding to calamity pill, which was something even the pill sect couldn't refine. Soon, the materials for the 3 types of spirit pills were delivered. Cheng nodded in satisfaction. It was good to be in a large sect where such high-level materials could be readily provided. Had it been a force outside of the top 10 sects, they would probably have to bankrupt themselves to gather a single set, right? Having refined 3 times and produced the best quality each time, Cheng already felt very proficient. Thus, he decided to strike while the iron was hot and test his limits. Logically, with his level 7 pill master skills, he should be able to refine the tribulation crossing pill, but to be on the safe side, he decided to start with the slightly lower level unifying pill. All techniques converge to one: return to the origin and truth, naturally formed, that is the Mahayana realm. Hence the name, unifying pill, for the pill that helps one break through to the Mahayana realm. Cheng scanned the materials for the unifying pill with his spiritual sense, and upon finding no issues, he put all of them into the tripod.